Alright everybody, welcome back to another video series here. Today I'm very excited to bring you a deck that I've really been enjoying on Magic Online, and this is Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes. So I think this is a deck that was popularized by someone by the name of Spider Space on Magic Online. He's also a streamer on Twitch, so I definitely recommend you guys to check him out if he's online sometimes. But if you're interested in this deck, he is a great resource. So he has played a lot with different Death and Taxes builds, and I watched him play with this one specifically, and I really piqued my interest, right? Because there's a lot of things happening in Modern right now that this deck can prey on, but it also has a very unique, not very unique, but a very important feature in the Modern format, which is doing something powerful, but also being a good deck when you're not having your best draw. So I think this is most commonly seen from decks like Humans and Hollow One and even Tron, where even if they're not getting, turn 3 Tron or turn 1 double Hollow One, they're still a very powerful deck, right? And it's really important to have those elements in a deck. So what I really like about this deck is the fact that you have all these different potentials to nut draw your opponent, but also if you just play your cards out at the kind of time you're supposed to, like on turn 2 and turn 3 and turn 4, you're still doing very powerful, very disruptive things in the Modern format, and that's what I really enjoy. So before going too deep into that, let's go ahead and talk about what's going on here, right? So essentially this is a Death and Taxes build that resembles mostly the black-white Eldrazi and Taxes lists, but also is similar to the mono-white Eldrazi list, right? So there's a lot of different things going on here, but the key difference that you'll notice from this list versus other Eldrazi and Taxes lists is the fact that you run Simian Spirit Guides and Gemstone Caverns, as well as Chalice of the Void. Essentially what you're trying to do is play out all these different cards earlier than you're really meant to and overwhelm your opponent with hate. So you'll notice there's no Path to Exile. That's because we're playing Chalice of the Void that is very often put on X equals 1. And if you're not familiar with Chalice of the Void, this card says, whenever a player casts a spell with converted mana cost equal to the number of charge counters on Chalice of the Void, counter that spell. So essentially you pay 2 mana to put Chalice on X equals 1, and every 1 mana spell your opponent has now is just completely uncastable. And there's tons and tons of 1 mana spells in Modern. But that's what's great about Chalice of the Void. And yeah, you don't get to play cards like Path to Exile, but we still play cards like Dismember here. And we have Eldrazi Displacer as kind of pseudo-removal in a sense. But the point is, you want to power out cards like Chalice of the Void on turn 1 if possible, but if you're not powering out Chalice of the Void on turn 1, you still have other cards to power out. And this is cards like Leonin Arbiter or Thalia. All these cards here are essentially your 1-drops, if you can. But they're also important to remember that this deck is castable and the cards are castable and playable on turn 2 as well. So again, even if you don't nut draw your opponent, you still play a very fair game, a very powerful fair game of Leonin Arbiter to shut off your opponent's search effects, Thalia to tax each of your opponent's non-creature spells, and Chalice of the Void to shut off your opponent from casting their spells. And, again, with cards like Gemstone Cavern and Simian Spirit Guide, you have the ability to play them on turn 1 sometimes. And now we got to talk about, well, what else are you doing in the rest of the deck? Yeah, okay, you're playing these cards on turn 1, sometimes turn 2. What else is going on here, right? So we have cards like Smuggler's Copter to loot away these kind of fast mana effects once we get to a stage of the game where we don't need them. They're also 3 damage in the air, as well as a blocker for cards like Lingering Souls, which can be quite relevant in a Mardu metagame, right? And there's also Phyrexian Revoker, which is kind of like this, I think like a flex slot that Spider Space has been using over the 4th Dismember, essentially naming different planeswalkers, different artifacts out of Tron and things like that. But essentially, it's just there to be an extra hate piece. But remember, you can't name lands with this, right? So you can't name a fetch. It's not like a Pithing Needle, but you can name basically any creature. And then I believe that even stops mana abilities, Phyrexian Revoker. I might be wrong, but I believe Phyrexian Revoker does stop mana abilities as well. So you can name things like Devoted Druid, and that works out as well. We also play Thalia Heretic Cathar, which is a great card in terms of taxing your opponent's non-basic lands, which there are plenty of in Modern. And then there's also helpful in the race. So essentially you play Thalia, your opponent can't play haste cards, but they also can't, well, they can play them, but they come into play tapped, so they can't attack. But your opponent also can't just play a blocker for your creatures, right? You play Thalia, they play like a Tarmogoyf. Well, Tarmogoyf enters tapped. That still lets you beat in for an extra, 3 to 8 damage or more, Essentially, Thalia is just a very, very powerful card. And then, outside of this kind of mono-white Death and Taxes package, we have the Eldrazi's. And essentially, Eldrazi Temple lets you have even more fast mana capabilities. So you do things way earlier than you're supposed to. Essentially, you have Eldrazi Displacer, which costs basically 2 mana with Eldrazi Temple out. You have Thought-Knot Seer, which essentially costs 3 mana, and Reality Smasher, which costs 4 mana. And all these cards just come together to make Eldrazi Temple and the rest of your deck so busted. I was testing this deck out on Magic Online yesterday in a modern competitive league, and I played against Storm in the 3rd round, and I went turn 1 Thalia into turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer, and they just could not do anything. And then I put a Chalice of the Void on one on turn 3, and it was just lights out. So this deck is really powerful against the different combo decks of the format, but it can also go toe-to-toe with the mid-range and control decks of the format as well. And that's what I really, really like about the deck. And I ended up going 4-1 in that modern competitive league, which is why I decided to do a video on it. This deck just does a lot of things that I want to be playing with in modern. So now let's go ahead and talk about the sideboard. We have 2 Declaration Stone, because this deck does sometimes have a hard time dealing with big creatures. So we have Dismember, but that's about it. So this kills Hollow Ones, Gurmag Anglers, kills tokens, kills Bloodghast, kills, what's the word I'm looking for? Prized Amalgams. It just kills anything you need to. And if you have a tempo advantage, then this card is great. And even if you don't have a tempo advantage, there are some times where you Chalice of the Void, and even if they draw more cards, it's not really the end of the world. And then you have Rest in Peace as Premier Graveyard Hate for a white deck. You have 3 Stony Silence as hate for Tron, Affinity, Ironworks combo. You have 3 Tocatli Honor Guard, which is a fantastic card against humans. This is a very underrated card for the humans matchup, because not only does it block on the ground in that matchup, but it turns off all of your opponent's enter the battlefield effects in the form of, Kitesail Freebooter, Reflector Mage. I'm sure I'm missing many, many more, but you get my point that Thalia's Lieutenant, that humans relies heavily on these enter the battlefield effects for their creatures, and Tocatli Honor Guard just shuts that down right away. You have Cast Out as a kind of catch-all removal spell for any permanent that you can also cycle in case you need to. And again, the fact that it's not 1 mana is really important, or even 2 mana, because Chalice of the Void is often on X = 1 or 2. You have Worship against decks that try to ignore you and don't kill your board or don't interact with you, or opposing creature decks, in a creature grind. Worship can just lock up the game pretty easily. You have Sorcerer's Spyglass, similar to Phyrexian Revoker, but it can also name lands, but also look at your opponent's hand, but it can't deal with mana abilities, so it's an extra kind of hate piece for different things going on in Modern. It's a very, very versatile card. I really, really enjoy Sorcerer's Spyglass. And then you also have 1 Karn, Scion of Urza, which is a great kind of anti-mid-range control card, because they can bring in all this removal, they can deal with all your threats, but then you just slam a card and you start upticking or you start downticking, and suddenly your opponent's going to have a really hard time answering this Planeswalker that gets you card advantage, while also getting you card selection, and also potentially putting power on the board. And paired with your Chalice of the Voids and maybe Smuggler Copters, Karn, Scion of Urza can actually, -2 and put out relatively powered, relatively well-sized creatures is what I'm trying to say. Point is, his -2 isn't completely horrible in this deck, because we do run some number of artifacts. Anyways, that's going to be the Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes deck tech for you guys. We're going to run it through 5 matches of a modern competitive league. Hopefully we are able to see how well the deck performs. So yesterday I got a 4-1 with it. And so let's see what we can pull out today. I was so close to the 5-0 yesterday. I actually lost to Rug Delver, the new Rug Delver list with Faithless Looting and Hooting Mandrills. That deck is wild. But my point is, this deck is really powerful. I'm really excited to try it out and share the content with you guys. So stay tuned for the first match coming up in just a second. Alright, what is up guys? Welcome back to the first match here with Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes. Yeah, we would love to play first. Let's go ahead and see what our opener looks like here. This looks like a great opener, right? We have turn 2 Chalice into turn 3 Reality Smasher. Yeah, that is an instant keep instant keep for me. Let's go ahead and lead on Eldrazi Temple in the case that we draw Thought-Knots here. We might want to play it on 2 rather than Chalice of the Void, but we'll see what we're up against here. Urza's Mine, huh? I think it's still useful to put Chalice on 1 here. Gemstone Cavern, not great. Question is, do we want to run out this Eldrazi Temple? Yeah, let's just go ahead and play Chalice on 1. This can stop them from like playing a bunch of chromatic spheres. But generally, this matchup might be tough. I mean, we have Reality Smashers to pressure them, but the fact that we didn't get a turn 1 Chalice means that our opponent could easily have turn 3 Tron here. They could just crack it for green, and then play a Sylvan Scrying. Yep, and that's turn 3 Tron out of our Tron opponent, right? Thankfully, we can start applying pressure with Reality Smashers. If we draw a Ghost Quarter, we might be in an okay position. That's not doing us any favors right now, that Phyrexian Revoker, so we'll go ahead and just play this out. If they play something like a Oblivion Stone, then we can name that with Phyrexian Revoker. But right now, I think it's just important to play a clock, apply pressure. Tron's going to do Tron things. We have cards in our deck that can fight what they're doing. I think like a Thought-Knots here might be a great draw. So I'm not even that worried about a Karn. If they go like Karn Downtick on Chalice, I mean, yeah, that's not even like that bad. So here they play the Power Plant out of their deck. Again, their lack of ability to cycle through their deck means that we might be in a pretty good spot here. Wormcoil Engine. Now that card might be a bit hard to deal with, but we can play Eldrazi Displacer to kind of like blink it. Interesting, interesting. So I am worried about Oblivion Stone, so I think I will get this Eldrazi Displacer out, which can blink the Wormcoil Engine. Interesting. So I could use the ability to blink it on their turn, but then if they have Oblivion Stone, then we're in a pretty rough spot. So I think I'm just going to hedge against the Oblivion Stone here. Now I could name Karn, but I don't think Karn is the scariest card right now. So I'm going to name Oblivion Stone. So we don't really want to attack with Reality Smasher. If our opponent wants to swing in Wormcoil Engine, that's probably a smart idea. Hopefully they don't have multiple Wormcoil Engines. That's going to be kind of hard to deal with out of Tron. The hope is that we're turning off a lot of their 1-mana spells. They play like 12 1-mana spells. They have Chromatic Sphere, Chromatic Star, Expedition Map, Ancient Stirrings. That's 16 actually. That's 16 1-mana spells that we're turning off with Chalice of the Void. So the fact that they were able to get off Tron is pretty good for them, but we'll see what they want to do here. If they want to swing in, yeah, we're not we're not blocking. Another Eldrazi Temple might actually be like a fantastic draw. I know that's a lot to ask for, but right now what we're trying to dodge is like an Urza's Tower into an Ulamog, but it might still happen here, right? This is like another. This is a Karn, okay. I wonder what they're gonna go get here. I have to imagine they're getting Ulamog here, probably. Ulamog just kind of shuts off the game for us, so if they can just draw lands. Walking Ballista. Okay. That's interesting. Maybe they downtick on the Eldrazi Displacer. Interesting on the Reality Smasher. Huh. I guess they think Walking Ballista can clean up our rest of our board here. I'm okay just playing another Reality Smasher out here. And I can finish off this Karn, attack my opponent, attack my opponent. And we're still holding up Dismember here for any... for maybe that Walking Ballista, actually. They could be able to play Walking Ballista on X equals 5 next turn. Yeah. No, that's 3, 5, 7, 9. They can play for X equals 4. That does actually clear up our board, but they have to do that sorcery speed, or else we'll be able to save our creatures. Interesting. Alright, yeah, opponent's going for a Walking Ballista for X equals 4 here. Yeah. So it'll be interesting to see how our opponent wants to do this. Probably want to... yeah. Probably want to do this right away. But they don't have to blow up the Phyrexian Revoker right away. They could if they wanted to. But yeah, looks like our opponent sees the line. So this Wormcoil Engine is actually going to be quite annoying for us to deal with. Leonin Arbiter. I wonder if it's time that we have to start like blocking the Wormcoil Engine. Maybe I was supposed to... no, Dismember just seems like such a losing line here. Yeah. We could swing in with the Reality Smasher and like chump the Wormcoil, but we can't actually kill Wormcoil in our main deck. Man, so let's just go ahead and swing here. I wonder if we have to kill this Walking Ballista right now, though. I think it costs 4 life. They trade with the Phyrexian Revoker. Yeah, I think we do. It means that we're chumping with... yeah, I'm not sure. Maybe I'm just supposed to like double block the Wormcoil. So now we're just dead to like a Karn, which they probably have. But it just looks like we couldn't race a Wormcoil. We didn't have the disruption necessary for this matchup here. For this, yeah. Like an early Leonin Arbiter would have been great. Like a turn 2 Leonin Arbiter arguably is better than turn 1 Chalice. Or turn 2 Chalice. And that's the Oblivion Stone. Yep. And I think we can pack it up here. I mean, I could have drawn one more off of Horizon Canopy, but there's nothing we can find in our deck that actually answers what our opponent is doing. Yeah, we needed like the Ghost Quarter half of our deck earlier. So there's Sorcerer Spyglass. I like Stony Silence here quite a bit. Cast Out might be reasonable. Declaration Stone is an answer to Wormcoil Engine. Let's go ahead and think about what we want to cut. We probably don't want Smuggler's Copter in this matchup, personally, especially when we're bringing in Stony Silences. Dismember might be a bit less useful. We'll keep in 1. Maybe we just want Deck and Stone over all the Dismembers, though. And, like, all the Stony Silences. And then, like, we have these 2 cards, which are good, which is why I want to bring some number of them in, but I don't know what I'm supposed to cut in their place. Probably, like, well, Thalia is great against Tron, actually, right? Displacer just seems like nutso, so I don't think we're supposed to cut that. Maybe Cast Out's just, like, not necessary. It's too slow here. I'm just going to cut 1 Deck and Stone and see how that works. Alright. So I really like Chalice of the Void here. Honestly, like we talked about how they have. Oh, maybe I'm supposed to cut one Gemstone Cavern on the play. I think that's something I saw him do. I'm not sure if it's correct though, but it's definitely what I. Oh yeah, this seems great. Turn 1 Chalice into turn 2 Arbiter. Yeah, this is fantastic. This is the kind of draws we need with this deck. We even have the 1 Deckenstone we kept in for potential Wormcoil Engine, just like natural Tron us. And if we can find like a Ghost Quarter, then we'll be even more set with this Arbiter. Alright, Chalice on 1. Your move opponent. So this turns off also Nature's Claim as well, because Nature's Claim is 1 mana. Obviously doesn't stop Oblivion Stone, but hopefully we can just keep them off of Tron by slowing their 1 mana spells down. Alright, that's Urza's Tower. Can't play a 1 mana spell here. Ooh, I think I'll just play the Arbiter in case they have Natural Forest into Sylvan Scrying. You could also have Dismember. Yeah, Natural Forest into Sylvan Scrying. Oh, opponent, what are you doing? Opponent! Yeah, that's Leonin Arbiter there for you. Ooh, Stony Silence. I wonder if Stony Silence is even good right now, considering, like, maybe we just want them to play out the Oblivion Stone, waste their turn. Let's go ahead and name Eldrazi. So we just want to get our clock going here as fast as possible. All right. Oblivion Stone, sure. So that's where Stony Silence is going to come in. And we actually have a Eldrazi Displacer activation, right? We have Simian Spirit Guide plus Eldrazi Temple if they have anything fancy here for us. I have a hard time imagining my opponent coming back from this, but we don't have the fastest of clocks. They can just play like natural lands into like Thragtusk. And no, it looks like our opponent concedes. Sweet. Okay, alright. I think our deck did what it was meant to do there. I'm glad it did that. Cast out on the draw over like 1 Chalice maybe? I think Chalice is just too good. Let's just run it back. I think we have a pretty good setup here for Tron. Again, our opponent just jamming that Sylvan Scrying, not realizing we had played Leonin Arbiter. And that's exactly why we played Leonin Arbiter though, right? So here, this is a little slow, but we have double Ghost Quarter. Is that fast enough though? Like, we have no fast mana. We have a Chalice on 1 on turn 2. I think that's actually just like too slow for this matchup. This is keepable, yeah. Let's go ahead and bottom that. We'll exile one of these Simian Spirit Guides. And now we have turn 1 Stony Silence. Okay, well. That kind of sucks, but yeah, so we had what? 3 of our Gemstone Caverns in the top of our deck. So Sylvan Scrying here. Yep. So again, they could still definitely achieve Tron. And we don't have a clock. Technically, we could play the Simian Spirit Guide. We could just like jam Spirit Guide, right? I don't know what we'd be naming with the Revoker. We could name like Karn, but I'm not ready to do that just yet. We can name like Walking Ballista. I think this is just like better though. It's kind of lame, but hopefully we can slow our opponent down enough with what we have going on here. Hopefully we can draw like a Thought Nuts here. Playing out the Simian Spirit Guide means Reality Smasher is not really like a live draw. Sylvan Scrying. Wow, so they'll just have Tron from their Sylvan Scryings. That's really rough for us. If we can find like a Ghost Quarter here, we might be in an okay spot. Ooh, God, that's just like a turn too late, right? I think we still play it out though. Or maybe we're supposed to play Revoker naming Walking Ballista. That might just be a better play here. Walking Ballista. I guess I could have named Karn too. Yeah, they have 4 Karns. I don't know why I just named Walking Ballista. So I guess we still want to see a Ghost Quarter off the top here. Ideally, our opponent's just sitting on a bunch of these guys. Alright. So we know nothing about their hand. I guess I could have named Ugin as well. I guess there might be a few better, a couple things that are better to name here. Alright, that's a Karn. Yeah, I think I was supposed to name Karn with Phyrexian Revoker here. If they just tick up, probably exile the Gemstone Cavern. If we can draw like a Sorcerer's Spyglass here, that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. Yeah, our opponent's probably deciding whether they want to deal with a Stony Silence or not. Looks like they're just going upstairs, deal with our hand. Chromatic Star, so maybe they're planning on down-ticking next turn. Because that'll free up their mana to use for whatever they want. Let's go ahead and just attack this Karn here. I guess I'd rather like play an Arbiter, right? They could have like a Oblivion Stone here, like that doesn't seem that amazing either. I think Arbiter is just better. A little late, but it's a little bit better. Yeah, again, I definitely should have named Karn with the Phyrexian Revoker. Alright, there goes our Stony Silence. Can start cracking their spheres now. They can play something like a Wormcoil Engine here, which would be pretty rough for us. But now we don't really have any lock pieces going on. Okay, so they're cracking the other Chromatic Star here. So they're down to, well, same amount of mana, right? 7 mana. Right? Oh, 8 mana, excuse me. We'll see what our opponent has here. I mean, I think they need to play like an actual card on the board here. Spatial Contortion, my Arbiter, huh? Maybe they have like a Sylvan Scrying here. Another Chromatic Star. Alright, we can still take down this Karn. Assuming our opponent doesn't play like a Thragtusk here. They do play like 2 to 3 of those in the sideboard, so it's not completely unreasonable to see that right now. Wow, they just have all the removal. Jeez. Playing out Thalia there might have just been better, right? So like a Reality Smash? Oh no, we can't even play Reality Smasher. Oh, they have Oblivion Stone too. Christ. So here we just, I think we just play out everything, right? make life harder for our opponent. We don't want to crack the Horizon Canopy because our opponent has a, whoops. Our opponent has Karn in play, so that Karn is definitely going upstairs next turn because it doesn't have the loyalty to do anything else. So we just have to hope our opponent here runs out of gas. They can't take a turn off to protect this Karn Liberated unless they have something else here. Interesting. So they could Ghost Quarter our Horizon Canopy. Oh, Eldrazi Temple. Let's get a Plains because we have a colorless source here with Sheffet Dunes. Don't need to get the Wastes yet. I don't think our opponent's going to be playing any like Blood Moon effects or anything like that. Sure, Karn going up. There's an argument to not cracking this Horizon Canopy because if we top deck a land, we can crack the Sheffet Dunes, and that forces them to blow up Oblivion Stone, which I think we want, right? Sweet. Yeah, this forces it. Yep. This does mean we don't have a colorless source, though. Maybe that was an argument to, maybe that was an argument to get the wastes out of our deck because we already have the Gemstone Cavern. Yeah, I didn't consider that. I didn't consider the fact that we might have to actually pop our Sheffet Dunes. So I think that was a slight error on my part. Yep. So they're gonna crack their Oblivion Stone here. They're not even cracking their Expedition map first. Yeah, sure. All right, so our opponent does have some better top decks than us from this spot. All right, Sylvan Scrying. Not the scariest. Although an Urza's Tower here does mean they have Ulamog mana. And an Ulamog Sanctum of Ugin. Okay. But they played the Urza's Tower. Interesting. Alright, so I think we'll go and crack the Horizon Canopy here, try to find something good. So we could actually take them off of Tron, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 mana. Let's go ahead and crack that once more. See what we're dealing. Well, we have a lot of Eldrazi Temples. So I'm going to go ahead and Ghost Quarter them on their draw step. I don't want to thin their deck from potentially drawing that basic. Let's go ahead and just take them off of Tron here. There's an argument for just saving it for Sanctum of Ugin, because this matchup might not be lost to our opponent having a bunch of mana, but there's a Sanctum. Oh no. Oblivion Stone, okay. As long as it's not something to pop that Sanctum. Right on time, Thought Nazi, right on time. I think we hold it, right? That just gives our opponent a free pop, just an extra card for free. I think there's a better chance of us like top decking Stony Silence from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So if they hit like a Karn here, then we can take it out of their hand. Or is this mine? Alright, I guess that's Tron. Chalice of the Void. We could put Chalice of the Void on... What number would be the most scary? Probably 1, right? Yeah, I think just Chalice of the Void on 1 is best. This might prompt our opponent to blow up the Oblivion Stone, too. I just think they have more, like, gas cards on 1 mana. I mean, they've already gone through quite a few of them, but it shuts off Ancient Stirrings. And the reason I didn't want to put on 2 is because of this potential to draw, like, Leonin Arbiter. We still don't want to pop the Oblivion Stone, so I think that's good for me. Now they might pop it right now if they drew a 1-mana spell. Yeah, looks like that's what happened here. Hopefully it's not an Ancient Stirrings and it's just like an Expedition map. Or they just drew a Karn and we're dead. Oh, wow. Yeah, just Karn. Just Karn is dead, basically. So they'll go ahead and tick up. We can still find like a Sorcerer's Spyglass or something like that. I think this game would have been much different if we named Karn with Phyrexian Revoker, honestly. I mean, they showed us they had the Spatial Contortion anyways, but it would have hopefully slowed them down just a little bit. And there goes the Thought-Knot Seer. Well, Reality Smasher does pressure Karn. Oh shoot, but they just got Walking Ballista? Did they not play Ulamog? Interesting, they have 9. Yeah, they have a lot of mana here for this Walking Ballista. I think we needed to find Stony Silence a little bit earlier. Our opponent's just seen like way more cards out of their deck than us. There's 7 cards ahead out of their deck. I wonder if I'd kept that original hand with multiple Ghost Quarters and like an early Thought-Knot or a turn 4 Thought-Knots here would have been enough. I don't know, maybe that mulligan was a little bit greedy. Walking Ballista for X equals 8. That means we're dead next turn. Well, it's an answer. This does mean we're not dead. Our opponent is just going to Karn us to death, but again, it means we have outs. So normally I don't play games if I don't have any outs, but we technically our opponent could just draw lands and we could just draw like Sorcerer's Spyglass into, I don't know. Alright, it looks like they decided to get the clue. That's probably smart. That extra point of damage is not that relevant. Sure. Karn goes up. Thragtusk, sure. Put the game even more out of reach for us, but it's not the end of the world. Crack the clue. Tron doing Tron things. Thragtusk. Wow, the second Thragtusk. Okay, well. Alright, I think we're going to scoop it up here. There's really no outs for us from this point here. I do think this is a good matchup. However, we just didn't have the right draw necessary to punish what our opponent was doing. Anyways, that was the first match there with Eldrazi and Taxes. And stay tuned for the second match coming up in just a second. I'll see you guys soon. Alright, what's up guys? Welcome back to the second match here with Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes. Looks like we won the die roll. Yeah, let's go ahead and play first. This is a turn 2 Chalice, turn 3 Thalia, turn 4 Chalice. I mean, it's a little slow, but you also have Cavern Cells, which is not the worst. I think I'll run out my basic planes on turn 1, because we don't want to just let our opponent know what we're doing. Just basic planes, I think, actually keeps them more in the dark than playing like any of this. Alright, this might be Storm. Could also be some sort of Jeskai or Blue Moon deck. But I think Storm is the most likely possibility here. So I think I'm going to actually play out the Chalice on 1 here. Then next turn I can play Thalia for... Alright, there's Baral. Oh, now we can just put Chalice on 2. That actually is just way better, isn't it? Bam. And so well, I mean, that locks us out of playing our own Thalia, but this stops them from playing like any of their grape shots, their rituals. They're shocking. They have gifts. I mean, well, not great. I think we just play the Eldrazi Temple. We probably want to save Cavern for naming Eldrazi, just so they can't. Well, they can't remand it anyways, but okay. Well, again, Chalice on 1 and 2. I don't think Storm has any outs to that game 1, but they could just like play rituals and play a game 1 empty the Warrens. So I'm definitely going to do my best here to keep my opponent off of the ability to play empty the Warrens. I think most Storm lists play 1 in the main. Maybe this Chalice on 2 was like greedy. Maybe I was supposed to get my Thalia out first. I'm not actually sure, but I think this was fine. I think we can bin Past in Flames and Noxious Revival. Leave them with 2 2-mana cards. I guess Noxious Revival doesn't actually do anything here, does it? Oh, I don't think they have a Wipe Away in their deck, do they? Sweet. Now we name Eldrazi. We play our Eldrazi. Thought Not Seer. That's a clock. That's all we need. Our opponent can't remand it because we have Chalice. So we'll see where our opponent's sitting on here. If the Empty the Warrens is in their hand right now, then that's probably going to be good. Game over. I think we just take the gifts ungiven here. They can't cast any of the other cards in their hand. Might as well. So game 2, they bring in cards like probably pieces of the puzzle. 3, 4, 5, 6, yeah. Cool. Okay, don't think our opponent has many live draws. Eldrazi Displacer is actually just insane, though. Let's go ahead and make that uncounterable just because we can. Question is, do we want to use it on draw step? I don't think there's anything we're particularly scared of, though, so I don't think so. Our opponent just has a bunch of cards they can't play. We have a fast clock. We can actually blink this Brawl. That might just be better to force damage through rather than give them the opportunity to block. Again, their outs like Repeal here don't work. I guess they could technically repeal for X equals a large number, but that just delays them, like delays the kill. Anyways, looks like we got there. I like Rest in Peace for a matchup like this. Declaration Stone is good for the Empty the Warrens kill. And I think that's about all we want. Worship is decent, but they also have Grape Shot, so not the best. So I think we just want to consider these 4 cards. This is probably not the matchup for Phyrexian Revoker. We can probably also trim a Leonin, actually, probably like trim a Thalia for those 2 Rest in Peace. We probably want our big dumb clocks. We could consider trimming 1 Dismember, but I like how it's a clean answer to one of their storm creatures. Probably want to cut Smuggler's Copter. Yeah, this is just not the matchup for Smuggler's Copter, probably. Just bring in the hate. And I think this should be fine. I mean, looks like we've run into 2 good matchups already. So round when we ran against Tron, we didn't beat Tron, but it is a good matchup. And now we're up against Storm, which is also a good matchup. So might be a sign that this deck is well positioned, but of course there's always variance in Modern. You can never just have like, the 100% win. Obviously Tron's a good matchup, but it's not a lock. And they definitely have ways to beat us. Gemstone Cavern into Chalice. Ooh, this is a really good hand. This is a Chalice on one hand, but I'm hesitant. Yeah. I think I'm supposed to actually exile this Thought-Knot Seer. That's a Serum Visions. Because we don't have an Eldrazi Temple or anything like that. We actually can't cast Thought-Knot Seer without colorless mana. So I wonder if we draw like a... No, I think we have to start with Chalice on one. I think that's just the right play in a vacuum. Eldrazi Temple would be probably the best draw here. Our opponent did mulligan, and they scry to the bottom. Well, that's a colorless land. That actually just makes her... Well, that's actually Thought-Knot Seer next turn, right? If we want it, though, we don't have to. We could just run out the Displacer instead if our opponent wants to like hold up a Remand or something here. Alright, that's a Mountain. Yeah, I mean, they're representing Remand here, so I'd rather just not. I'd rather not waste the Simian Spirit. Okay, looks like our opponent just Stone Cold nothing. Alright. Another Displacer. Let's go ahead and start with an attack first before we play our Thought-Knot Seer. Wow, looks like they just have nothing. Shattering, well, that stops Shattering Spree. Our opponent just concedes. I didn't even get a good look at the hand there, but our opponent just turn 1 Chalice, turn 2 3/3, turn 3 4/4 Thoughtseize effect. Yeah, that's pretty good, right? Especially against Storm. Anyways, that was the second match there against Blue-Red Gift Storm. Thank you so much for watching. We're 1-1 in this Modern Competitive League, and stay tuned for the third match coming up in just a second. All right, looks like we won the die roll. Again, what is that, the third die roll win in a row? That's fantastic. Let's go ahead and play first. Take a look at our opener here. Whew. Jeez. Is that keepable? Turn 1 Smuggler's Copter, turn 2 Simian Spirit Guide. Oh no, we can't. We can't Simian Spirit Guide, can we? If we had the Gemstone Cap, if we were on the draw, this hand might be a little better. I think I'm actually going to mulligan that hand. This hand, wow. So quite poor. God, do I even want, like, we have so much mana, I don't even think I want that Eldrazi Temple. We could play out the Eldrazi Displacer next turn. Alright, Scalding Tarn. Could be a control deck of some sort. Reality Smasher. Wow, I'm definitely like feeling a little upset that I didn't keep the Eldrazi Temple. Maybe Eldrazi Temple was just correct on top because we have this Eldrazi Displacer already in our hand. Again, I could have jammed out this Displacer, but considering our opponent might just be like a Lightning Bolt deck. Thought Scour. Okay, could be Death Shadow. Discard Op though, so it could be Delver. Yeah, interesting. Delver holding up Lightning Bolt. Chalice of the Void on 1 seems fantastic here. It's a little late to the party, but we're probably just going to get... Okay, Opt. Cool. And so Eldrazi Displacer is actually quite nice against Delver because we can, flip it every time it flips. See, Opt doesn't actually help set up our opponent's flip. Our opponent revealed that Delver secrets to us. Thank you, opponent. They don't have to reveal, but now we know that they do have 1 Delver secret in hand. Faithless Looting's not going to work out because of Chalice on 1. Get swung for 1. They might have like a mana leak effect here, which means I don't necessarily want to run out Reality Smasher. Let's just go ahead and get this Displacer out here. Alright, no removal, no mana leak, no remand. Means we're definitely in the driver's seat here. See if our opponent flips this Delver or not. They don't flip Delver, but then they also don't crack Polluted Delta, so I wonder if it's a non-land card that they, or if it's a non-instant sorcery that they do want. Darkslick Shores. It's another Chalice into the yard. They could have a card like Tasigur. So they are Grixis Delver. Interesting. I think I'm inclined to just swing here first, see what my opponent does. Does nothing. Then we just play Thought-Knot Seer. Hopefully clear the way for... Wow. They were fueling towards Bedlam Reveler. Fantastic. That's gone. So in other hand is Delver, Bolt, Delta. It's like again... Okay, so there we go. So they're doing their little scry effect here, right? So they're looking at the top card of their deck with Delver. They don't want it. They shuffle their deck to draw a random card. Young Pyromancer is pretty good here. I mean, it's a card. Question is, do we want to do anything here? I think we just want to swing. If my opponent wants to, like, bolt to make a token and then make some sort of weird triple block, I think I'm okay with that. But as it stands, I think am I better off just like casting a card here? Maybe I'm just better off casting a card. Opponent has a turn to like draw something. Again, they don't flip the Delver, but then they also don't want the card on top of their deck. So it could be a land, could be a 1-mana spell. Although if it was a 1-mana spell, they probably would have let the Delver flip and then shuffle it away. So what they can do here is they can Faithless Looting out of their yard to make a token. Means they're not dead, but they also don't know about this Reality Smasher. For Grixis Delver, we probably want our Rest in Peace, especially against Grixis Reveler. So Grixis Delver plus Reveler. They are a grindy deck, so maybe Karn is okay. Tocatli Honor Guard stops Snapcaster Mage and Bedlam Reveler from doing anything dumb, but they're a Lightning Bolt deck, plus probably Fatal Push, so I'm not a big fan of that card here. Cast Out is probably a little bit too slow. Worship is interesting, but again, they're a removal deck, so we don't really want that. Don't want Stony. Deck and Stone kills cards, so I think these are the 5 cards we want to consider here. Definitely not a Revoker matchup, so we can easily just trim that. They have fetches, so Arbiter is fine. They play spells, so Thalia is fine. Chalice also seems fine to me. I think Rest in Pieces are the cards we want to prioritize bringing in, with Karn being the 3rd, and then maybe like 1 Declaration in Stone. Maybe we don't need 2. They're nice to clear also Young Pyromancer tokens. Maybe we can cut 1 Thalia, bring in 2 Rest in Peace. Dismember just seems really important to kill like Delver. Maybe we just don't, like, they are a tempo deck, so maybe like just bringing in like 4-mana cards is not what we want to be doing. Yeah, so I think it's hard to classify Grixis Delver because sometimes it can play a grindy game, but sometimes it can just play the tempo game. So this is a Chalice on 1 hand plus a removal spell. I think that's a keep. Yeah, this hand seems fine to me. I mean, we need some lands, but we have things to do with 2 mana. These games tend to go long. Obviously, it's not nutty. It's not like turn 1 Rest in Peace or turn 1 Chalice, but it's a serviceable hand, and I think mulliganing down to 6 cards is just asking to get wrecked. So we could wait for them to reveal a card, but we could wait for them to potentially reveal. I don't think Grixis Delver plays Spell Pierces. I don't think they would bring in Spell Pierce against the Chalice deck. So I'm going to see if Delver flips and if my opponent wants to reveal. Maybe they'll give me some more information about my opponent's Rakdos Charm. Well, that destroys an artifact. Now we can go ahead and kill this Insectile Aberration. So, good thing we know about this Rakdos Charm, because it means Chalice on 1 might not be that good. Young peasy, huh? Okay. Running out Chalice on 1 doesn't do much. I think we just want to play the Smuggler's Copter here. We could maybe bait out the Rakdos Charm. So my opponent's just fetching here. Maybe they have a K command, and they just want to use up their mana more efficiently while I'm tapped out. Could also have like they could also just have like a Serum Visions. Sure. And this means they still hold up Rakdos Charm. But it also means that maybe our Chalice on 1 resolves. Or yeah, Chalice on 1 might resolve. So we know they have Rakdos Charm in hand. So maybe I don't even want to. This is actually interesting because it means I could play Leonin Arbiter through a counter magic spell, but I think we want to save that for Reality Smasher, naming Eldrazi. Alright. So because we know they have Rakdos Charm, there's really no reason to do that, and we can actually just block the Young Pyromancer or the Elemental with this. If they just have like a Lightning Bolt here, though, that's kind of rough. Yeah, I didn't think about that. So not revving up Smuggler Copter means it lets them use up their mana more efficiently, or kind of at their own pace. Oh, Thoughtseize is so good here. Wow. There goes Reality Smasher. We get beat down. Ooh, rest in peace, huh? Is that just, yeah, that's just better than playing Chalice of the Void, right? Again, rest in peace, not doing a great job here. They could just, yeah, they're not gonna Rakdos Charm us here. Yeah, I think I was supposed to rev up Smuggler's Copter. Although, either way, it wouldn't have really been good for us. So, a Declaration in Stone would be good here. Yeah, this, unfortunately, is not how we lined it up, right? Alright, so on the play, I think we're definitely supposed to trim a Gemstone Cavern. Question is, what do we want to bring in? Maybe like Deckenstone? Maybe Karn? Maybe like, oh, whoops, that's not Karn. Maybe Karn on the play is pretty good, especially as they have all their bolts and stuff still in their deck. Rakdos Charm is a really nice answer to Chalice of the Void. It's 2 mana. No white mana here, unfortunately. This hand could have been a turn 1 Leonin Arbiter, but it's not. So I'm going to go ahead and mulligan that away. Still no white mana, but I don't know if we can keep going down. Yeah, it looks like that first hand might have just been better. But this hand is okay if we top deck like a Plains. Could be okay if we top deck a Thought-Knot Seer. They could Thoughtseize us here. Yeah, Thoughtseize is really good. So, Chalice on 1 is still a live draw. Yeah, our mulligans have not been kind to us. We could draw a Cavern of Souls. We could draw Horizon Canopy. Ghost Quarter is interesting. Oh man, maybe that was a mistake to play out the Eldrazi Temple, because I would have Ghost Quartered my plains, my wastes, I mean, and then to get a plains. But I think we just play that out here. Hopefully they don't have another discard spell. These Simian Spirit Guides might not be great in grindy matchups. I wonder if you're supposed to cut them. Opponent is getting a bit aggressive with their life total here. Main phase, just interesting. Maybe they're looking for a discard spell, or maybe they already have it, and so they're just lining up their turn. Serum Visions, sure. So here we can get a plains with this Ghost Quarter. Screws up our mana a bit, but still have these Simian Spirit Guides in hand. Scry 2 to the bottom. That's always a good sign for us. Chalice of the Void on 1? Yeah. Let's go ahead and do that. We could put it on 2, but I do definitely think it's just way more potent on 1 here. 1, 2, 3. I wonder what they were scrying for. Maybe a threat? Hopefully they don't have Rakdos Charm here. Hopefully they don't have like 2 mana counter magic here. Gemstone Cavern. I think I'd rather play that Gemstone Cavern, use it for mana, Ghost Quarter it away, say yes, get a plains. We can actually pay for a mana leak here. Alright. So they are a Bedlam Reveler deck, so counter magic is not particularly likely out of them. But they could be playing things like Gurmag Anglers. But again, with Bedlam Reveler, it might be kind of like a non-bow to delve away your cards. Yeah, wow. Thalia doing work here. Alright, well, another Eldrazi Temple it is. I could play out one of these Simian Spirit Guides. Sure. Actually, I think that might be worth it. As dumb as that might seem, exile, cast. Now we have a 2-for-1 or a 1-for-2 2/2. But it is extra pressure on the board, right? So if our opponent is building towards a Bedlam Reveler here, at least it enters the battlefield tapped, and that means like a Reality Smasher is lethal. Whoops, I did not mean to freak that out. 1, 2, 3. They have 4 in the yard, so they could play a Bedlam Reveler right now. Cryptic Serpent enters the battlefield tapped. Bam, Thalia doing work. Sure, getting more instant sorceries in the yard makes sense. Cryptic Serpent, that's kind of sweet for my opponent here. And now we have lethal, even through a blocker. I wonder if we Ghost Quarter them aggressively? I don't think so. So now even like a young Pyromancer doesn't do it. A Bedlam Reveler doesn't do it. Another Cryptic Serpent doesn't do it. If they have a 2-mana removal spell, that does it. If we go for the attack. Okay, that also does it. That's one way to do it. shrink our... Okay. They can't attack us here, because they would be dead. So that was my intro. Ooh. That seems pretty good here. So obviously this Thalia, this Liliana is kind of threatening. There's no reasonable attack we can make right now. But also it means our opponent can't just build towards a big graveyard. Yeah, now our opponent sees the better target. I think that's lethal. If our opponent doesn't have like a cryptic command here. Now we can go ahead and swing our opponent's life total with Thalia. And there we go. Looks like we got there. I actually thought we might not have been able to make it with that hand in game 3, but looks like we just drew in really nice timely Chalice of the Void, shut off their 1-mana spells. Then we just kind of play this grinding game, and Thalia doing a lot of good work in that match right there. Anyways, that was the third match, with Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes. So we're 2-1 in this modern competitive league, and so stay tuned for the 4th match coming up in just a second. Alright, we are the ultimate luck sack, so we're on the play again here for this 4th match in this modern competitive league. We're 2-1, going into the 4th round. Yeah, let's go ahead and play first. Ooh, yeah, I think I'll keep that. And this hand would actually kind of be nuts on the draw, right? So we could turn 2 a Thought-Knot Seer here, but we can't turn 1 Copter plus turn 2 Thought-Knot. That would be kind of insane. So as it stands, I think I'd rather just probably go for a turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. So that means I lead with Eldrazi Temple. That means also if we top pick Eldrazi Temple, we don't have to use up the Simian Spirit Guide. This hand really only has 2 spells, but so we might actually want... No, running out Copter on 1 just seems so bad. It means we're not doing anything on turn 2. But we could rely on this Copter to loot us into some stuff on like turn 3, and we still have some draw steps to go, so... Obviously, if we knew the exact card on top of our deck, then, we might have some easier decisions on what to do on turn 1. But again, just like Simian Spirit Guide out on Smuggler's Copter on turn 2 on turn 1 without an actual play on turn 2, just seems like a really big mistake to me. I'd rather just get the Thought-Knot Seer out on turn 2, which is already pressure and applies disruption to our opponent. So our opponent's over there thinking about their 7. They haven't decided on that yet. So I'm gonna go ahead and probably pause the video and stick around. I'll be back in just a second. All right, our opponent is finally back after like 5 minutes of me sitting around here. Oh, all right. Looks like they apologized. No problem. Let's go ahead and just lead on Eldrazi Temple. Say go. Again, a little punishing if our opponent has, like... it's not that punishing. If our opponent has Thoughtseize, like, that's okay. Gemstone Cavern. Ancient Stirrings. Okay. So looks like it's a combo deck, which we generally do pretty well against. Amulet of Vigor. Sure. We'll see if that's important for our opponent, huh? Ooh, Thalia. Man, so it looks like playing Smuggler's Copter on turn 2 might have paid off for us. Either way, I think... Just turn 2 Thought-Knot Seer. Seems fine for me. We'll see what our opponent's sitting on here. There's an Amulet. There's an Azusa. Do we just want to take the Amulet or the Azusa? So Walking Ballista obviously not too threatening. Azusa just lets them ramp if they draw the right cards. They don't actually have any bounce lands, so I don't see Amulet of Vigor doing any work right now. So yeah, Azusa just seems like the scariest card. I could have taken the Primeval Titan, but I think we'll be able to apply enough pressure that this game won't go that long. There's Amulet of Vigor is down. They played the Sun home. Sweet. So because we know our opponent has a Walking Ballista, I'm actually going to run out the Smuggler's Copter on 2. Or 4-2. Because this gets in more damage over time. And the Gemstone Cavern. Reclamation Sage. Whoa. Alright, that's, I guess, kind of punishing. Reality Smasher, huh? That's going to be pretty good. Let's go ahead and just swing out with Thought-Knot Seer here first. We can play the Thalia, but they're just going to Walking Ballista it down. Although that might force them to use up their Gemstone Cavern, which might be a fine trade. Thalia also taxes them if they want to try to do like an Ancient Stirrings turn here. But again, if they drew alright, no bounce land, so Secure Tribe Elder, sure. They could just play Walking Ballista for 1 though, right? Oh, double Secure Tribe. I think we just name Eldrazi here. So if they get 1 bounce land here, we're pretty screwed, right? Oh my god, could I have played Reality Smasher last turn? Where did my math screw up? Our opponent goes to 7 from this block. They could, alright, looks like they're just, yeah, I mean, yeah, I'd block here. They go to 7. So now they need bounce land right now. Just playing a Walking Ballista maybe. This is kind of scary. Oh wow, they're just going for Explore. I guess that's 1 more draw for a bounce land, but does that do it? Okay, cool. We got there against what's the word I'm looking for? Amulet Titan. So they have Rex Sage, so this is not a Worship matchup. This is not a Karn matchup. It might be a Cast Out matchup, but again, they have Rex Sage. This is definitely a Tocatli Honor Guard matchup. Shuts down Primeval Titan. Shuts down Reclamation Sage. Sorcerer Spyglass, we can name Walking Ballista, that's about it, right? They have like Tireless Trackers post board sometimes. So like Deckenstone might be okay. I think these 5 cards are the most reasonable cards to bring in. Revoker, not fantastic. I mean, we can name the their one drop creature guys. This could also name Engineered Explosives. I don't know if that's worth it though. Well, yeah, I think, how does Thalia and Amulet of Vigor work? I think Amulet of Vigor actually beats out Thalia, right? I think we probably want to cut some number of Smuggler's Copters here. Probably all of the Smuggler's Copters. It's just not a Smuggler's Copter matchup. Definitely want the Tocatli Honor Guards. Question is, do we want these Declaration Stones? We have Dismember. Yeah, maybe we just don't care about Tireless Tracker though. But if we're turning off Primeval Titan as a value engine, then maybe Deckenstone is important to actually kill it. Maybe just 1 Deckenstone. Smasher seems pretty important. Maybe like cut 1 Chalice of the Void, because we can put Chalice on 1, but like on the yeah, I think trimming 1 Chalice of the Void is fine. I don't know. We don't actually have that many tools for this matchup, but Chalice on 1 could be pretty good. Shuts off Amulet if they have like a turn 1 tap land and we go turn 1 Chalice of the Void. But again, like past turn 1 or even turn 2, especially on the draw, Chalice of the Void doesn't seem that great. I wonder if Spyglass is better than the second or the third Chalice. I think I'm gonna keep the Chalice, but can I name cards that aren't on the battlefield? Like activate abilities that aren't like. Can I name Thalia West here? Like transmute on Thalia West? Maybe I can. Maybe that's just good enough. If I'm able to submit my deck in time here, I hope looks like it's submitted. That might actually be not bad. Yeah, I don't like Chalice a lot in this matchup. They're not a usual combo deck where they rely on like a bunch of 1 mana cards. Interesting. No white mana here. Double Ghost Quarter. I think we can reasonably mulligan this hand for something better. Wow. No white mana again. White mana seems to be like a consistent issue with this deck here, doesn't it? Like if we find white mana, this hand might be good, but all right. Well, we're amazing. That's like a turn 1 Thalia, or even a turn 1 Arbiter, depending on what our opponent does. Yeah, I think turn 1 Thalia is just better. It stops our opponent from going like Explore or doing like Ancient Stirrings into Amulet of Vigor. All right, Grove of the Burn Willows. That means they're doing something on 1. Okay. Exile. Pay 2 life, or pay 1 life here. Play Thalia out. And say go to my opponent. Turn 1 Thalia hopefully will be okay. Tax my opponent a little bit here. They can't play Ancient Stirrings on 1 land here. They cannot. Because of... Alright, so there's the Simian Growth Chamber. I guess that's one way they can do it. Sure. Amulet of Vigor. Sure, yeah. That's scary. So I think I'll go ahead and swing here. Eldrazi Displacer sets up the fastest clock. So I think I'm more inclined to do that. They don't have any search effects that they could do next turn. I mean, I guess they... I think here we would just want to apply the fastest clock and find like a Ghost Quarter. I think Ghost Quarter would really swing the game in our favor. Although they do have Secure Tribe Elder up, which means that they might just be able to use a bounce land to save one of their cards. Interesting. Okay, so I think we definitely need a disruptive spell here. I'm not sure what could get us here, but Azusa would be kind of... Yeah, Azusa is nuts here. It's another 2 land drops. They have Secure Tribe Elder... Scout. Sorry, I keep saying Elder. I think it's Secure Tribe Scout. Interesting. So if we draw like a Thought Knots here, we might be in a good spot. Maybe even like a Dismember for this Azusa. Well, as it stands, I think we're better off just swinging in here. If my opponent wants to double block, I might actually... Interesting. So they are going to double block. Yeah, this is tough because either way we do it here, they can essentially get a prime time out. Or what we could do, maybe Leonin Arbiter is just not that good here. Could say, oh, but that would, Maybe I'm not supposed to attack with this Thalia. Maybe this was a bad attack. Azusa is legendary. Nah, I'm gonna kill the Azusa. Yeah. Play the Grove. Now an Arbiter could maybe stop their search effect a little bit. Oh, they have an Abrade. Oh my gosh. Yeah, that looks like they just... If they have the Primeval Titan here, then we're just screwed. Looks like they're tapping mana for something. Okay, a Tribe Scout. Another Azusa. Alright. That's no thought... I mean, that's no Primeval Titan, right? Okay, so here we can attack. I don't think there's any reason to use this Dismember here. If they rip a land, then they can probably play the Primeval Titan that's stranded in their hand. I have a feeling that that's what's going on here. That's a land. Like, I have a hard time imagining they keep a hand like this. I mean, and maybe Ancient Stirrings makes the hand keepable. Alright, no pre-combat Primeval Titan. So let's just go ahead and make it so they can't block with it. Oh, ha! That's a permanent! Oh my god, I just realized how bad that is for us. Yeah, that doesn't do anything. Them using their Ghost Quarter is actually so good for us. So I think I'm going to go ahead and just start with an attack first. If they want to make some silly blocks here, I'm okay with that. Sure. Did not realize that that's how Amulet worked. And now we're still keeping up an Eldrazi activation. Not that we really need it, but it does take a Primeval Titan out of combat, I guess. Thalia is nice. Venom just doesn't have gas, it seems like. Rex Sage, sure. Oh, it's a May ability. It's a May. I was gonna say if they just blew up their their own amulet, that would be ooh. So we have a pretty good line here. We can dismember if they try to do any fancy double blocking. Sure. And now Takot Leonin Arbiter shuts off Primeval Titan's enter the battlefield ability. Let's go ahead and just name Eldrazi here. So this does shut off our own Thought-Knot Seer, but at this point in the game where the opponent only has two cards in hand, and the fact that it shuts off their best card essentially, yeah, it looks like our opponent just conceded the Takot Leonin Arbiter. We were able to get there. I honestly didn't think we were going to, but our opponent had a pretty bad hand, and we were just kind of able to slowly chip away and beat them down with our 2-power and 3-power creatures. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. That was the 4th match with the Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes deck. We're 3-1 in this modern competitive league. Let's see if we can pull it out and avoid that 3-2 dream and get the 4-1 finish. I'll see you guys soon. Alright guys, welcome back to the 5th and final match here with Eldrazi and Taxes. Hope you've been enjoying the content so far. Looks like we won the die roll, and yeah, let's go ahead and play first. No. Deck, please. Deck, please, why? Not like this. Not like this. 7-lander into a no-lander. Like, if we had one more land, I might honestly consider keeping this. But as it stands, we'll just go back. We'll go to 5. And this, I mean... If we draw like Eldrazi Temple, like this is a hand, I guess. Leonin Arbiter is a castable spell, so I'm actually going to keep that. I think castable spells and and lands are like the only thing I would keep there. Obviously, we'd bottom most other things. If our opponent has like a Thoughtseize on turn 1, then I'm okay with that. Like Mishra's Bauble could, ooh, Scalding Tarn, interesting. I wonder what our opponent. It could be Grixis Shadow. Yeah, it could just be Grixis Shadow. Hopefully they don't have the. Ooh, looks like they're fetching right now because they don't want their card. They are shocking it into play. So maybe they have just the Fatal Push in hand. Fatal Push would be pretty good. But if our opponent does not have the right removal for Leonin Arbiter here, then we could be in an okay spot. Hard to imagine, though. Yeah, well. Oh, Fatal Push. Yeah, and then we're going to get hit by like a Tarmogoyf or just a Death Shadow, or just like a Gurmag Angler or a Tasigur or something here, and then we're just so far behind. We can still draw Dismember to kill that kind of stuff. But looks like this is Grixis Shadow. At least we're going to find out what this matchup is before we die horribly. I don't think this matchup is that. Our opponent's just bolting us. I guess that's the bolt is free. Oh, they bolt themselves. Interesting. So like Eldrazi Temple would still be a fine draw here. Now it's obviously we're a little far behind. But like a land could still do it for us if our opponent just has like 2/2 beatdown. Well, now that it's a 5/5 beatdown, it's obviously a little bit trickier for us. We kind of needed that Arbiter to survive. But our opponent has a solid draw here. By solid draw, I just literally mean what Death Shadow always does. Land off the top would be quite nice. Wow. Arbiter, I actually think it's worth... No, I wasn't supposed to do that. Because I think I just need my land so bad here that there's like no world where I Ghost Quarter them. Actually, I think I'm going to chump here. Yeah, I think chumping here is probably going to be the best line for us. Because if we draw a land for Thought-Knot Seer and then a land into Reality Smasher, we might actually be in a reasonable position. Another Death Shadow here, though, would be kind of rough. So hopefully our opponent's just sitting on like a bunch of Stubborn Denials. Gurmag Angler, that makes life a little bit trickier. Eldrazi Temple. Yeah, we needed that a little bit earlier. Yeah, maybe I actually have to play the Reality Smasher here. I think I do, because now they present lethal. Yeah. And now we just have to chump with this. Oh, although if they want to present lethal, then they might aggressively shock. Fetch shock. Yeah, they might do that. I wonder if they'll play around like a Path to Exile, though. Although we probably would have pathed on our main phase. If they have like a Thoughtseize here. Thoughtseize, interesting. Yeah, Thoughtseize is just lethal, right? Doesn't have to be, though. So hold on, let me think here. If they actually fetch, if they play their so they could put us to 10 here. I'm just thinking like, what are our lines to victory? We could like bait my opponent into doing something else. Like if we block the Gurmag Angler, then our opponent might just like fetch, just like, no, they're not gonna do that though. I think just saving the most life is our best option here. Our opponent's presenting a lethal attack, so nothing we can really do about all the stuff going on here. We're going to go down to 7. We can play our own Reality Smasher, but yeah, our opponent doesn't shock the Steam Vents in. Makes a lot of sense. Thalia chumps for 1 turn. It just gives my opponent an opportunity to make a mistake, right? I mean, we're pretty dead here, but if our opponent just does something that they're not supposed to, that Gurmag Angler was actually huge for them. That having that second threat. All right, so we go down to 1. I wonder if we have to crack this here. Oh my god, are they... Oh, I guess they could just play another creature, though. Creature blocks. You could just have like a Thoughtseize here. Snapcaster Mage. Kolaghan's Command. Make us discard. Another Gurmag Angler. Yeah, another Gurmag. That's pretty good, too. Yeah, and we're dead. We're finally dead, right? We had to play it out, though. I mean, I think we did pretty well from mulligan to 5, right? In this matchup, really don't like the Phyrexian Revoker. I am definitely interested in Rest in Peace as well as Declaration in Stone. Karn is also interesting, but just probably not worth it. And a deck that kills us, I probably don't want. Warship. Cast Out is another piece of removal, even though it's a little bit expensive. On the play, we just want to trim a Gemstone Cavern. Probably want all of our Dismembers. Maybe we can trim one Smuggler's Copter as well. So definitely want the Rest in Peace. Definitely want the Deck in Stone. Maybe Cast Out's just too expensive. They might keep in some number of Stubborn Denials. But I think I do want to find room for this second Declaration in Stone. It's just one of our best ways to beat our opponent. Maybe we just cut all the Smuggler's Copters, because they die to all the removal in my opponent's deck. They die to K-Command, Bolt, and Fatal Push. And that just seems like too much. Just seems like a little bit too much. Again, there's an argument for Karn here, but against the Stubborn Denial deck, it's a little bit tricky. I think I'll keep this. It's got Thalia into Leonin Arbiter plus a Ghost Quarter, potentially. If we can rip an Eldrazi Temple, then we won't be behind on lands too much. I think we lead on Shefet Dunes here. It's the most painless land down the road. Sweet. So our opponent... Thalia, huh? Thalia's not bad. Just double Thalia. So our opponent can't actually bolt it favorably here, which is what I really like. So my opponent did mulligan to 6. I wonder how they scryed. So they scryed to the bottom. It'll be interesting to see what my opponent does here. They might just main phase a removal spell of some sort. Fatal Push, sure. So against a deck that relies so heavily on fetches, I'm really... Well, I could just play another Thalia, right? That has a similar effect. It really depends what I draw here. If I can afford to crack this land right now. Another Arbiter. Interesting. I think I want to. Whoops, I took more life than I had to there. I think I want to cut them off of blue-black. Well, there is an argument for cutting them off of red as well. But blue-black cuts off like Thought Scour. This cuts off Lightning Bolt. Yeah, well, maybe I'm just supposed to cut them off of red here. Grixis Shadow has been playing some number of Lightning Bolts these days. Another Fetch Shock, sure. Alright, so just the natural Shock land is actually really good for them. Ooh, they're just going to Dismember? Sure. Do they have like a Death Shadow here too? Yeah, that's pretty good. Pretty good opponent. Just a little too late, but I think I'll run it out. So we could chump Death Shadow for a little bit till we find an answer for it. Chalice on 1 does mean my opponent has quite a few less cards that they can play from this position. We're going to take 5 here. Hopefully our opponent doesn't have like a Gurmag Angler here. That looks like exactly what they have, though. That's so frustrating. Deck and Stone is a good start. Do I want to Deck and Stone the Death Shadow or the Gurmag Angler? Probably want to hit the Death Shadow. And maybe if we can find a Dismember for Gurmag Angler, we'll be in an okay spot. Interesting. This makes me think my opponent has just a bunch of either Delve threats or lands in hand, or 1-mana spells in hand. Not great. I think I'd rather play the Thalia. I think like a Dismember kills us here. This means that like land into like Liliana the Last Hope doesn't kill us. So we need to just draw like running lands, because the issue is we haven't been able to deploy our threats at a reasonable pace. Probably playing this Ghost Quarter might have been a mistake. Alright, getting stuff into the yard means they probably have another Delve threat. Could also just been a misplay, but I find that hard to imagine. Yeah, it looks like they're just unloading to make future Delve threats live. And that's, well, yep. Draw another Deck and Stone? No. Just buying ourselves time here as best as we can. That's a fetch land. That's also red mana. Whoops, excuse me. It also means we're probably dead. Oh, well. They forgot to pay 2 for Arbiter. So we might have gotten ourselves one more turn, but I can't imagine we're getting much more than that. Yeah, it's pretty silly on how that works. That's a Cavern of Souls. I think I'll name Eldrazi. No matter what, we have to pay some life here. Again, we're really just stalling until we can find like a Declaration in Stone, because that's really our only out to like all these Gurmag Anglers at this point. I have a feeling our opponent has another Gurmag Angler in their hand, but something tells me we're in a bit of a pickle. Again, against Death Shadow, it's never like, oh, even Dismember here is just not a live draw anymore because we're below 4 life, or we're at 4 or below. So a lot of things just don't work out for us here. It's possible that the turn that I didn't deploy a threat and I went for the Ghost Quarter was greedy. I don't know. Might have been a greedy turn. It's hard to know. Here we just have to chump. Well, we're not dead yet. Well, looks like we should have been dead quite a bit back, huh? So this gives my opponent a draw step, but it also just means we're not dead, right? Eldrazi Displacer. If we draw Eldrazi Temple next turn, no, we can't, because... So I think this is the turn we have to crack Horizon Canopy. Hit a plains means we're not dead. Yeah, that Eldrazi Displacer would have been, and looks like our opponent just drew the Dismember, which is gonna prompt the concession from me here. Nothing we could have done there against our opponent. Looks like we only pulled out a 3-2 here. I think we had some rough draws there in that last game, but yeah. I mean, Thought-Knot Seer is good when you can play it before your opponent develops a board in this matchup. And it's good game one when your opponent just has a bunch of stubborn denials. But it just didn't line up well against how our opponent's hand played out and how our hand played out. But that's going to happen sometimes. You can't win every game. And we still pulled out a 3-2 out of this Modern Competitive League. So what that means is we got our money back. And we also got a little chest, right? So at least we got a 3-2 out of this deck. And I really, even though the deck has some trouble with its mana sometimes, I really do think it's a very powerful deck. But we can talk about all of that during the closing comments. So I'll see you guys in just a second. All right, everybody, welcome back to the closing comments here with Eldrazi Stompy and Taxes. Let's go ahead and talk about the deck and how it performed, right? So we played 5 matches of a Modern Competitive League. Round 1, we faced Tron. We had some close matches. It's a good matchup, but close games, but we ended up losing in the 3rd game, and we just didn't get there, right? So we started off with 1 loss, but then we rattled off 3 wins, right? We beat... This is really testing my memory, right? We beat Storm round 2. Again, also a pretty good matchup with Chalice, Thalia, Thought-Knot Seer, Fast Clock in the form of Reality Smasher. Thought-Knot Seer, this deck has a pretty good Storm matchup. And then round 3, we played against Grixis Delver. Also can be a tricky matchup sometimes, but we ended up getting there. Against blue decks, it's always tough, especially tempo decks with Lightning Bolt. But Dismember did a pretty good job at killing their threats before they beat us down a bunch. And that's what you really want. That's when you really want Dismember. You don't want to top deck Dismember in like the mid to late game when you're at like 8 life or less or something like that. Like, you know, you really want to do it early to stop your opponent from ever dealing you damage at all. It's like, okay, we'll kind of trade 1 hit from this Delver plus my card to kill your card. You know what I mean? So instead of all that repeated damage, you take some life once and then you kill your opponent's threat. But that's the drawback of Dismember. It's obviously not a free spell. But we ended up getting there. And then round 4, we were able to beat Amulet Titan, which again, combo decks like those, we have a pretty good matchup. We have Disruption and we have a Fast Clock. I really do enjoy what the deck does against those kind of combo decks. But it can still be a close matchup because Primeval Titan, your opponent can just cast Primeval Titan and just go over the top of you. So there's some play in that matchup. It's not quite as good as maybe other combo decks in the format. And then in the 5th round, we played against Grixis Shadow. I actually think that matchup is pretty good. We have a lot of tools like Displacer, Thought-Knot Seer, Reality Smasher that are really hard for the Grixis Shadow deck to beat. We also have Chalice of the Void on 1, which is also just an incredibly hard card for them to beat. However, sometimes if you stumble on mana or you fall behind on the board and don't answer their early aggressive threats, then Grixis Shadow can go over the top and can just kind of steamroll you. And that's what we saw in that game. We didn't draw the relevant cards at the right time, right? We didn't draw the mana at the right time. We didn't draw the Chalice at the right time. We had kind of our dorky start in the beginning, and that just didn't slow our opponent down enough such that they could still develop their board. Anyways, let's talk about the sideboard now, right? We have a lot of good things going on here. I mean, the cards I didn't really like is the Cast Out and the Warship. Maybe we just didn't face the matchups where we wanted to bring those in, but it just felt like I never wanted to bring these cards in. You know, I mean, like maybe I bring this in against what, like Ad Nauseam, like Green-White Value Town. Like maybe there's something I'm missing in the format that you're supposed to bring this in, but like even Storm has like ways to balance this. It just seems so loose, right? That's what it feels like. It feels like Warship is loose, but maybe it just steals games against certain decks. I'm not sure. It seems a bit weird in the format right now, but I could be wrong. And then Cast Out, while it is removal, it's always just so expensive, and it's just like when you want removal, it's usually against aggressive decks. And so having your removal spell before mana is kind of rough. So I think there might be some interest in changing this slot here. For what, I'm not sure, but it is interesting to say the least. Anyways, I don't have that much experience with the deck, so I can't claim to be some sort of expert, and all these changes are probably not going to be good. And I'm sure I didn't even pilot the deck perfectly, but I hope that you were able to see kind of the power of the deck over these 5 matches. You know, we lost 2 of them, we won 3 of them. That's a pretty good record in Modern. Every deck, you know, there's the joke that every deck in Modern is a 3-2 deck, right? With that said, I think the fact that Spider Space, and I can even show you guys real quick, Spider Space right here is third, 1, 2, 3. Technically, he's tied for second in terms of trophy count, and obviously 2 to 3, there's not much difference here. But he has 3 undefeated trophies. I can't guarantee that they're all with this deck, but I can say that this deck is incredibly powerful, and it's doing some really good things in the format, and it's doing things that I really enjoy doing in the format. Anyways, I'm going to leave it off there. If you guys have any comments, suggestions, questions, etc., you can go ahead and leave them in the comments below. Please consider liking the video and or subscribing. That way you can keep up to date with all the content that I come out. I come out with 2 to 3 videos every week. So if you want to, you know, always get a notification when I come out with videos, it's probably a good idea to subscribe to the channel. However, I also post my videos on NPG Salvation forums as well as certain Facebook groups as they're relevant. So go ahead and keep your eye out in those groups or on those forums if that's what you prefer to do. And also, you can all follow me on Twitter. I do have a Twitter page. I'll leave that in the description below. You can follow me. I post all of my new videos up on there as well. So depending on what your preferred social media you know, outlet is, that's how you can follow me and keep up to date with my videos. Anyways, thank you all so much for watching. I appreciate you tuning in this long, and I'll see you guys probably for another video on Friday. So see you then.